Hi, it's Annalie. Today we're going to play with one of my favorite products, which is the Altenew Shimmer Relief Paste. I have it in brushed pyrite, rose gold, enchanted gold, and pearl. I think I have a couple others also, but these are the ones I'm going to use today. And I have a lot of different ways that we can use it. So first of all, I had just made these flowers. These are Altenew Craft a Flower Daisy layering die set. And I made these and I thought they're pretty, but they could use a little sparkle and shine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use this brushed pyrite, and I'm just gonna use the tip of my finger. If you have any skin sensitivities, you might want to use a rubber glove, but I'm going to just use the tip of my finger, and I'm going to take the smallest little amount onto my finger, and I'm going to just, I think that's even too much. I'm just going to rub it onto the accent part of the flower. Try not to hit the edges. You could also use a tiny little brush, but you'd have to clean it immediately because this dries very fast. But see, it gives just a little tiny bit of shimmer on there, just a little added something. And I'm gonna do it again on this one, just to give you an idea of what you could do. So you can lay that one on fairly thick. Then if you want to go crazy, not really crazy, but if you want to do more, you could take a little bit more and rub it over the entire flower. You want to do it fast because you don't want your fingerprints to show. But you could just make it like a completely sparkly flower. Just rubbing it in all different directions. Something like this. Just for a suggestion. I've done it on a different card, a different kind of flower, and it actually picked up more of the details. I did it on this one. This was more of a layered flower, and I only did it on the top edge, and I did a little bit around the edges. We can do a little bit around these edges too, just to show you. Take a little bit on your finger, and then just go around the edges of your flower. Okay, I'm not doing this really very well. These are smaller petals, so they're a little bit harder. But you could give a little accent like that. So this is just one idea to play with the flower petals themselves. The next way I use my shimmer paste is with a stencil, a ready-made stencil. So I have this stencil, and this time I think I will use rose gold. Look how creamy these are. Oh, they're so nice. I love these. These are such a great addition to the Altenew product line. I love these. So what I do here is I just take some and I squish it across the top. I'm gonna squish it all over. Rub it all over. And then I'm gonna take this and just flatten it out. I'm gonna try to get it, push it down into all of those little nooks and crannies. And usually doing it with this makes it a pretty quick and easy process. But if you have to, you can go back in with the back side of this just to make sure that you're getting into all of the areas. So you can do it either way. And if you want to leave it a little bit more textured, you don't need to use this. You can leave it a little bit more textured. I like to remove as much as I possibly can because I want to take it and put it back into the jar so that I have it for next time. This dries very, very fast, so I always have cover this up right away. I always have a baby wipe ready to go right next to me because you can see it's already drying on here. On here it doesn't matter so much, but I don't want it to dry on my sticky mat. I don't really want it to dry on my stencil. So wipe that off immediately. And then I have another trick for you. I'm gonna take this off. Isn't that pretty? Gives a little textured look. I'm gonna take this off right away. And this is kind of a silly one. Before I wash it, I'm gonna put this right back in place, a plain piece of cardstock. I'm gonna put this back on top. And this is how I clean my stencil. I just take my baby wipe and I rub it over the cardstock. You have to rub pretty hard because it's already drying on here. But I rub it right over the cardstock, and then I have another one that I can use. Now to finish washing it off, I lay it on here and wipe the backside because it does sneak through those openings. So I wipe both sides on my cloth to be sure that it's clean. But then I have, this one got a little bit smushed because I think the wipe was a little bit wetter, but I have the original and then I have the extra. And this actually makes a very delicate looking background, not as bold as this, but both are beautiful, used in different ways. So that's number 2. My third idea is just to make a complete covered sheet. So I think I'm gonna just put it on here and spread this on in a thick layer. And then I will just smear this onto my cardstock. You can do as light or as dark as you want, go in a couple different directions. Why would I do this? Because then I have a panel, a gold panel, that I could use to cut out die cut words, or I could cut out flower petals out of this, or I could cut something from the inside, and then if this is gold all the way around the edges, I could use this to mat. I'm just gonna go like that. I could rough it all up and have it as a textured background. I'm not gonna do that, but you could. So I'm just gonna go like this and then let this one dry. For the next idea, I'm going to use an embossing folder. This is the Altenew Elegant Bows, and you can tell I've already used this for this technique once and didn't completely clean it. Now with this one, as I'm showing you, once this is dry, this comes out pretty easily. It's a little tape. And you can just scrape these out pretty easily. But we're going to add in this into the debossed area. So this part would be the side that pops up. This is down into the folder. You want the one that is like a concave so that it's down into the folder. And I'm gonna just take some of my paste and I'm gonna just put it into, I can do a few of these bows all at the same time. I'm just gonna push it into the bow. This one you do use a little bit more paste because you want a nice thick coating in there. And what you'll want to do, just to make sure that it's the right thickness, is pick up your folder, and you can see that I have a thin spot right here, a couple thin spots. So I'm going to add a little bit more paste and just make sure that the areas are completely covered. And then you let that dry. You let this one dry for probably a good day, probably 24 hours. And this way, once it's all dry, it peels right off of the embossing folder. And you're gonna have a little bit of a mess around the edges, but all you do is once it's dry, you peel up all of that, and then you cut off the messy areas, and you have a three-dimensional bow. And it's really cute. It's really quite pretty. So now I'm just gonna let this dry for a day, and I'll come back tomorrow, and then tomorrow you'll see we'll have 4 of these little bows. I'll just cut around the edges, and I'm good to go. You can also do it with flowers. If you have an embossing folder that's flowers, you could do it with flowers, or you could do it with words if you have one. My next idea is to use the Shimmer Relief Paste. This is the Pearl. I'm going to take some. I have a little mat here that I have for my alcohol ink markers, and I'm just going to take a little bit of this. This one you want to be sure that you're using about as much as you're going to use on your project, because I'm going to color this. Once it's colored, I can't put it back into my jar. So you don't want too much. You want just the right amount, which you have to kind of eyeball it. But I'm going to take some alcohol ink, and I'm going to put it right onto there. I'm just going to start with 1 drop, and I'm going to mix this around. And it makes a beautiful peachy, orangey paste. And then what I'm gonna do, when I've got the color that I want, I could add more, I could add another color, I could blend the colors together. But here, I'm gonna just take this, scrape it off of here, and I'm just gonna apply it onto my project. And again, the same way as before, I'm just gonna have to smush it around and hope that I had enough. There it is. Now it is important to clean your stencils, because I do see that I used a little bit of green on this stencil the last time I used it, and it is coming up onto my project. It is showing a little bit, but I'm not too picky about stuff like that most of the time. But it is a better idea to just make sure your stencils are nice and clean. The best way I do it is just to run them under the sink as soon as I'm done. So there we have that. Now I have this little extra bit that unfortunately, I was gonna say I can't use, but that's not true. I'm going to use it. I'm gonna grab the second layer of this stencil on a different piece of cardstock. And I'm gonna do just this inner circle. The 2 inner circles. Just easier that way, just to use up the paste. And then the rest is just gonna have to go into the garbage. But that's another way to use it. My next idea is one that I have never tried before, but I had cut out those first daisies, and this is the negative part. So as I see them sitting here, I thought, ooh, that might be kind of pretty. So I think I will use, I put it on gray cardstock, and I think I'll use the brushed pyrite again this time. And this time, because the centers are kind of popping up, I'm gonna have to hold those down and just go around the image like this, trying not to let anything. This one might not work because it is lifting, but I think if you tape down all the edges, it might make a difference. I was just too anxious to get jumping right in, starting to see what would happen. But you can also use this on your layering stencils. You can use this as one layer. I would say probably the top detail layer, or you could use it as the top detail layer of your flower or your leaves, but you could definitely use it. I've used it as in my stencils, my layering stencils. I can show you that too, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure this one's going to work because the paper is absorbing a little bit too much. But like I said, I like to show you my mistakes as much as I like to show you the things that work out well, because even with my mistakes, you might get some good ideas and see how that works. Ooh. That's not too bad, except for, that's actually kind of pretty. I'll have to, I think some of the paper got stuck on here. I should wait until it dries. So it's an idea, you know, for a background, or it's kind of pretty just like that. So I like that. And then if, you know, if I made a stencil like this, or a cardstock like this, I could just cut out a sentiment from there and stick on there a little edge. So that's an idea.